and welcome to Ward 13. My name is Veronette March. Happy Hump Day. It's Wednesday, unless, of course, you work on the weekend. I guess it's not Hump Day for you. Today I have a guest, Don Sullivan. He is the co-founder of Equinox Music and Arts Festival and also Electric Impulse. Thank you for coming on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah. So let's start. How did you even get into what you're doing? So you're a promoter.
It's been a long road. I think we're about up on our 5 years now with Electric Impulse, which was kind of a bunch of people coming together, and it really started with just kind of wanting to DJ. I was trying to just find something new to do. Met a couple friends, they were into it, kind of taught me how to do it. It kind of started off very innocent, very little hobby. It was just fun. I mean, you don't expect to do anything big with stuff like that. You know, maybe play a couple bars, whatever, impress your friends. But like, it kind of started to build up. We didn't really have a lot of platforms to play, so we kind of just made our own. And then it just kind of grew. There was a market for it. We didn't even realize until we were getting it. We looked back at some of our events previously, and they were just silly. Like it's just like really crazy to go from where we were. Like it's almost a joke. Like if I looked at what I was doing then, but here we are.
Yeah.
Through a lot of hard work of a lot of people over the years.
No, it's great. And I've been to a few of your shows. Right now you're doing the Friday nights.
Base Weekly at Jewel Music Venue, Manchester, New Hampshire.
And you've been pulling in a great crowd on the Friday nights. And also it's like such a great vibe.
Oh, yeah.
With the music, the EDM. Also, too, with this Equinox, you said it's your third year.
Third year.
Okay, and you said most of the slots are full. Can you tell us a little more about that and where it's located?
We are going to be in Harmony, Maine this year at Freedom Field, which is just a great, Freedom Field, Harmony, Maine. After such a hard year, it's nice to really be back. It's a really big event, a couple thousand people, food vendors, multiple stages, fire flow, workshops, just tons of stuff. Really can't wait. A lot of people involved with that.
Is it a 1 day, 2 day, 3 day?
It's a 2.5 days. So we have 2 full days on September 10th and 11th, and then the 9th is an early access. So we have like a really extra big special lineup. People that want to show up that Thursday, get their campsite, have a little extra party. We're going to do a free pig roast for everybody there.
Oh, wow.
Vegan options available.
Awesome. And now they can order tickets online, or they can go to the site.
Yep,
and
you can go right on the
there.
website. Our promoters are going to have some deals for you. We have hard copies, pretty standard affair for that. Oh.
So Joshua Ewing, he's
my business partner, my right-hand man, like the guy who makes a lot of this stuff happen.
Very nice dude. I was able to meet him as well. You were saying that he has his purple belt today.
Just sent me. Congratulations, Josh. He's got his purple belt. Oh, yes.
Happy
very
about
excited.
that. Yes.
He is a very fierce jiu-jitsu warrior.
And it's funny, too, because he gave me this the last time I was, it's Electric Impulse bracelets.
Yep.
I know you guys don't give that out every Friday, but Josh was giving it out this past Friday or the Friday before, and I was lucky enough to get a bracelet.
Yeah, that was good. We're getting everything ready again for the festival, and we have a ton of stuff. So yeah, spread it out.
Yeah. And also too, you go to the 603 that's in Dover.
603 Bar and Lounge. My homie, my friend Luke owns that bar. He's a really big supporter of ours and been around for a long time. And yeah, his bar's awesome. It's in Dover. Really great production, great crowd there. I'm there every Thursday.
Every Thursday is that one. Okay, perfect. And so now tell me how you guys pulled through the pandemic. Now, that was a big thing for musicians. Everything cut down. You did do a special live streaming performance with different artists to try to...
I've been doing live streaming for sports for a while, many years. My business prior to all of this was live streaming like figure skating events and hockey events, doing photos and stuff around the country. But honestly, it was kind of winding that down by the time 2020 hit. And we were well positioned. Everything got shut down, so we just went to live streaming format. Jewel Music Venue was awesome. We had some sponsors. We were able to get big production wall, LED walls and lights, and did a whole multi-camera format. It was industry strong global live cast, and it was really good. We raised quite a bit of money for the artists and for just like keeping the venue alive. And then we ended up, that was, I think, a 24 hours. And then we did a second one, I think, in April. It was 72 hours straight of just music from all these different communities around. You know, by then, a lot of people had, like, figured out how to do the live streaming. And I remember sitting down with some of my favorite artists, honestly, just kind of, like, hanging out with them on video chat, walking them through getting the live streaming set up. So something I was kind of, like, uniquely positioned to, like, really understand right when everyone needed to do it.
Right.
So that was great. And then we ran Bass Weekly. You know, we never really stopped. You know, like, it was basically the next week we got that together. We were one of the first out with a really big live stream. Then everyone kind of started doing it.
Right.
And then we were doing our Bass Weekly, which was cool because we could connect with artists and visual artists from around the country. We didn't have to go anywhere. We didn't have to bring them into Manchester. You know, before COVID, we were at another bar, like a bar in Manchester. And that's where everything kind of started. Bass Weekly, free show, locals. You know, but we have some guys like, you know, Josh Teed on the violin. He really started coming up there.
Right.
And now he's traveling around. He's moving. He's not going national.
Right.
Really
And
cool.
that's what's cool about it, because you didn't take the pandemic as something where, all right, give up. You know, we're not going to pull it. We're just going to ride this out. You're like, well, let's find other avenues of where we can make this work and still keep the music alive until we're able to actually get back in the venues.
Yeah, music's important. It's healing. You know, we didn't realize, we kind of definitely took for granted kind of where things were. We could go out to this place any day of the week. And, you know, being in New Hampshire, we're lucky because it was like July 2020 when things really started reopening. And we were able to, you know, then though, the economics of things were different for entertainment. People just wanted to go out, and, you know, we weren't really able to do where we were before. And that's how, you know, we have done shows, one-offs with Jewel, had a great, you know, big shows, but they aren't a regular walk-in bar. They are a music venue, a concert hall, and they were hurting. So we pivoted there and went from Thursdays to Fridays, a paid show, and kind of, we all limped our way through until basically February of 2021.
Right. Yeah, and just even that, because once they even started opening up, right, you still had to do the mass and social,
yeah.
which is hard to do at a music venue, you know, because it's
You
open
couldn't
floor.
stand up.
Right.
It's just like, I'm totally for a lot of the reasonable, you know, science-based restrictions and the things that we needed to actually, like, there is mitigation. Like, there are things you can do to mitigate, but when we start doing things that don't make sense, you have a lot less compliance as well, and it's just nobody follows anything at that point, and it was very, very difficult. And I know, you know, the people had to enforcing that, I know they didn't want to be doing what they had to do, and we all just kind of had to work together and try to figure out the best way. You know, our venue was a very special kind of, it's not a bar, it's not a restaurant, so and it's not also a sit down, bolted in seat theater like Palace Theater or something like that. So the restrictions, you know, government is a blunt force instrument, you know, and they didn't quite fit what we were doing. And it was very difficult. It was, you don't really want the anxiety when the state in the city shows up. You want to be able to know that you're in compliance, everyone's happy, you're doing your job, we're doing our job, great. And those are some really stressful weeks.
Yeah, I bet. And like you said, it's just not even so much you doing your part or the venue doing their part, but then the people showing up, are they gonna?
They didn't even know what they were enforcing, and they were totally honest about it. They were very cool. They're just like, this isn't towards you, but this is what we're being told to enforce, so take it up with your legislators. It's like, okay.
Right. But you guys pulled through.
We did.
Now everything's lifted up. Is there any things that you would like to promote that's coming up at, you know, you get the Bass Weekly, which
Bass Weekly every Friday.
You'd have 2 weeks off, right? Or
this is our second week off. We actually have a band, Wolfman's Jack, a Grateful Dead tribute band. They're really great. They're going to be there Friday night at Jewel. Saturday, we're having an awesome kind of, I'll be playing there Saturday night. Be doing the DJ thing. Mainstream, clubbish music, but a really good vibe. Like, there's a lot of different types of, you know, music communities and scenes in Manchester, and we've definitely cultivated one that, like, it's a good vibe. It's a good feeling to be there. You know, it's upbeat music. I think Saturday's Men in Motion as well. They do.
Oh, they're doing
the male
in the
review
back
show.
in the back
Yes,
room.
not to be prurient.
And for that, there's a cover, right? Or
yeah, I think there's $5 cover, something after 11 or something like that.
yeah.
Really
it's not
easy.
bad.
Come and enjoy
That's-
the music. It's a great spot.
Right. No, and I have such a great time, like I said, when I'm there. And because, too, one of the greatest part of the shows is the lights.
And the Hennessy sound system. Let's not forget, Jewel is now one of the only venues, one of two maybe venues in the country to be running all their shows on a Hennessy sound system.
Can you explain a little bit about that for people that don't understand?
So people love, when you hear like good speakers, good music, and you're like, oh, this is really cool. These are some of the best in the world. They're a boutique sound system that were actually developed in the New England region, and they've now taken off nationwide. You really can't operate like we do bass shows. It's EDM style, but it's kind of more underground. It's using bass frequencies that you really can't hear to a point. A lot of speakers can't even reproduce them. You can put them on a computer, but you can't reproduce them, when you actually put it through the hardware and create the sound waves. These can, at very low hertz, and you feel it. And, it's great when it can be loud to a point of perfect clarity and you feel enveloped, but you can talk to your friend and you're not needing earplugs, you're not damaging your ears. That's a quality sound system, and you don't get that anywhere else.
Right.
That's really cool.
Yeah, thank you for explaining that, because I hear that all the time, and then you're like, well, what does that mean if you don't know?
And you need people that know what they're doing, like to actually run it. It's not just like you plug in some speakers and make sure the sound levels are good. It is each little channel is being specifically engineered the entire time. These guys are very good. So I always like to encourage people to learn what they're listening to, because when you understand, it's like normal people go to a show and like, it's great or not. But if you really understand what you're looking at, then, when you see a bad show, you really know it. But when you go to a good show, you really also know what you're listening to.
Right.
Which is great.
Right. And like I said, the light show as well. Now, you just started coming in doing the lights on that.
Yeah, we just did a stage rebuild, but it's just phase one. We have quite a bit going on there. So.
And for like people that come and play at the shows, do you guys you as, the co-founder, are you responsible for the lights, or like all their images, or they could come in and do their own?
If they want to bring some big tours will bring their own like LD lighting designer or their own VJ who's doing the visuals, but typically we have our team. What's really nice is our team has basically been picked up by the venue itself. Right. So they're now running the light, and that's what's great about what we've done. That's the best feeling when I see other people taking what we've offered, like that platform, and then building careers for themselves.
Right.
A VJ that we were with for so long, he started literally with us, like at our first shows, and now he's on tour with some of the biggest artists in the country, and he's just doing all the big festivals, and it's just like, whoa. Like, like obviously it was very much for their hard work, but we also had the platform that they were able to grow with that and have that inspiration. When we're doing things twice a week, we're doing so much stuff beforehand, and now we're doing bigger things. We provide a platform for these artists to get onto, right. And for people that are up and coming, we encourage everyone to keep learning. Our first slot every week is open decks. If you just want to learn how to use CDJs, you're starting out as a DJ. And then as you start releasing more music and you start really working toward it, you get those better slots. And then when we have these national acts coming in every Friday, it's a big platform for people. And when you're sitting at home working tens of hours, dozens of hours on just a song, and you're sitting at home, at night on your computer doing this, you need to be able to see the path forward, right. And I feel like so many talented people, they never break out because they almost just can't see the path forward. There's not enough opportunities, and to see how happy people are to break out of the 9 to 5 and start making a career out of their art.
Right.
It's like, it's the greatest gift, That's why we couldn't stop. Can't stop.
Right.
Can't stop.
Yeah, like you say, you're helping out so many people. Now, are you still accepting interns for...
I have a hard time. Talk to the team. They have a hard time getting me to delegate. I'm really a control freak on so many things, but we're getting much better at that. Interns, we will be having a ton of volunteers for Equinox. So if everyone wants to get on, that, it's equinoxfest.com. Mm-hmm. And you can apply for a volunteer or
I might actually even volunteer with that, because I remember when we were talking back when, I think we were at Desiree's house or something, and you guys were thinking of coming up again, because you were going to do a Halloween show
in 2020, but then we were hoping to reschedule Halloween, but obviously things just
but I would definitely like to buy. I mean, I don't know how to do any of that stuff, like lights or anything, but I'm sure you could find something.
You could just stand somewhere. Honestly, we need so many. A lot of it is just bodies. When you're managing such a mass, it's a lot of people. Sometimes you just need someone to stand here and make sure no one goes over there, or help with parking, or help drive this person around, or. There's no festival school,
right.
So it's been a lot of years of kind of learning what you don't know what you don't know. Like, oh, I didn't realize that this like plug-in distribution box needed this type of amperage or this kind of connection or this. It's just like so many different things, or just how to manage, even for as far as shuttles and hotels and things for artists.
Right.
It's just crazy.
Right. And now you were saying, prior to us going on, but you were saying that one of the biggest things now for artists, even though they're able to perform, it's the flights and things
travel.
like that.
I mean, things are with not only inflation, things are getting way more expensive. Supply lines are down. A lot of like fast food restaurants and things are having problems. But like the airline industry is like really screwed up right now, because it used to be so much subsidized on business travel, and now that so many people are remote, the people that obviously leisure travel was expensive, but musicians, most money is made from touring now in the music industry. You're not really making money on iTunes play or Spotify plays and stuff like that. You're not. It used to be CDs and album sales, but it's not as touring now. Mm-hmm. But now touring is a lot more expensive because plane rides are not subsidized by business travel as much. Right. And that's a problem, especially for people like we were saying who are up and coming. Those spots right before a big headliner are really important for artists that are breaking out nationally. You might be a big name regionally, but like you need to have that, you can't go to another state a lot of the time and just sell out a show.
Right.
But you can play before someone that will sell out a show. And then when you come back, people know who you are. It's simple, but it's, there's a lot of that's where agents and management and, branding really comes into play. But it's getting tricky to get those people out. We try to make an effort every Friday to fly somebody out who's really about to like break out and get them there in front of a national act. Right. And they're thrilled about it, and the crowd's thrilled about it because they're discovering a new artist.
Right.
But it's definitely tricky.
And do you feel like the ticket prices have gone up as well, or did you feel you had to?
Before it was, in one way, it's kind of nice because before it was always this game of how do I keep ticket prices as low as possible, which meant basically the people doing the hard work were the ones taking the cuts. Everybody was, except for maybe the national headliner you're flying out because they have an agent,
right.
But, it was the sound people, the lighting people, the visual artists, everybody would just work more than they were getting paid. Everybody. And it all trickles, into the promoter very rarely makes money. I mean, I think they try to peg it as if you sell out a show, major agencies will look at you making maybe a 15% cut. But if you're not selling out the show,
right.
And most of it came down to economics. Like we only have so much money because we have to keep these ticket prices at $15 because there's XYZ other shows, just basic market economics.
Right.
But now there's way less venues. There's way less promoters, really. I mean, there's almost like, I think like it's kind of like after a wildfire, there's a lot of growth that comes up, but a lot of them don't really get to be trees. So there's a lot happening, but there's only very few. Like we're one of very, very few, maybe just a couple promoters doing regular like national acts in New England right now. Right. On the Hennessy Sound with the big visuals, and it's definitely tough to sustain, but that's why tickets now are $30 to $45 because right. You're getting a Hennessy sound system. And, we all agreed as a team that this year was, you're going to get paid. Right. The opener's going to get paid. Everyone's actually going to get paid this year.
Right.
Because that's something that people want to see. They want to know that their money's going to support something. So now the tickets aren't $15, but there's more of that professional community really being built up. People actually can not really pay the rent, but.
Right. At least they feel like they're contributing. Plus do you feel more people will come out now because they've been locked up? Or do you feel there's still people hesitant to come out?
I think Newton's law, what stays at rest tends to stay, objects at rest tend to stay at rest is kind of at play here. I think it feels like a lot of people just, their entire rhythm and routine of their entire life was just upended, and you're at home now. And right. People, I feel like it's actually been, at first it was like kind of easier. People just wanted something to do, but it's hard to say. I think definitely like there's a demand for people trying to get out, but there's definitely I shouldn't say large, but there's definitely a good chunk of people that are nervous. I mean, there's a chunk of people that are nervous to still go out with other people.
Right.
Indoors in general. So that's still a chunk of people that aren't coming out. And there are a chunk of people that are just more apathetic. I know people that were out 2, 3, 4 times a week who I haven't seen once.
Right.
Yeah.
And for the show coming, the Equinox Music Festival, Are you going to be performing as well? Or?
Yeah, I'll sneak a set in there. I actually, in 2019, it was a great memory. There was a, you don't know what you don't know, and there was a technical issue, and we were delayed on the main stage, and I just got a radio call, and I just finished doing something, and I just so happened to have nothing to do for like not nothing to do, but nobody calling me to do something. It was the final day, and I got up on the main stage right as the sun was starting to go down and played like a 45-50-minute set just off the cuff, and it was awesome. It just flowed right. Everything just like the stars aligned. The LED walls were starting to flicker on, and like, my friends were all running in front of the house, and it was just so off the cuff and so just great memory. The wind's going, you know, and then like this amazing band, La Special, played right after me, and it was just so cool because you're standing around there and you're like, I didn't do any of this because I didn't build the stage. I'm not doing the sound. I'm not doing all the cables, but like, booked these people. I don't know. It's a really weird feeling being around something where you can see, and it's surreal because you're kind of telling yourself like, I kind of like helped make this happen. And it's really weird though because you're like not really doing it,
right?
But it's
you're part
cool.
of you're a part of the puzzle,
right? I'm a cog in the machine. I'm a cog in the machine.
And do you feel because you're doing so much behind the scene stuff, keeping things going or whatever? Do you feel like you're behind a little of producing your own music like you used to? Or
I don't produce any music.
None?
Nope. One of the things I've learned in my life is if you're going to do something right, you got to focus. And with a kid, another child on the way, surprise. We don't have there's only so much time in the day, and I'm already 12 hours flat each day right now just trying to get this going. Right. It really, if you're going to commit, like I don't have time to produce music. I get to DJ though, which is great. I play other people's music and I do it pretty well. So when I connect with a lot of these producers, they usually give me some tracks, and I work with that. So that's good enough for me for now.
And with the DJing, so like if you go to 603, will you get up and DJ, or you kind of
I play the whole time. I play for 4 or 5 hours. That's they hire me to do. And that's the fun part, is being able to just go away from all the stress of promoting it can be very rewarding, but who is it stressful? You're the one carrying, we're not a corporation. I have no corporate money. Mm-hmm. It's literally, in 2020, it was our house down payment that we had been saving. That was, you know what I'm saying? And it's like, it's just us trying to do something cool. Right. Trying to spread happiness and trying to be happy in our lives, and just that's it. I don't want to work 9-to-5 job at an office either and just hate my life. Not that there's nothing wrong with an office job. I do work at a desk and still do things, but succeeding and failing on your own merit's nice, but wow, is it stressful? Right.
Yeah, there's a lot on your
shoulders. Hoping people show up. Yeah.
And I'm sure, like you said, like even during the pandemic, once that happened, I'm sure with a lot of people in the music industry, you just felt like the rug was just pulled right underneath your feet, and it's like that panic mode.
Absolutely.
But it's either like that fight or flight, right? So it's either run around in a panic or find a way to make it work, which you ended up doing. So
we're still here. So yeah, absolutely, can't stop. Music's important, and it was important to everybody. It was during the darkest times. It was, we were kind of not gathered, but there was a couple, skeleton crew. You remember for the live stream, it was skeleton crew, everyone in masks and exchanging hand sanitizer, and it was like real scary moments when nobody really knew the facts. Right. Right in the first couple months when nobody knew what was up. After things kind of started waning in the year, people kind of knew where the risk factors were and things were. But yeah, when it started, it was kind of a community thing. We were like, all right, we're in this together. It was like a war zone.
Right. Right. I remember, I was having a cigarette out back with somebody, and they're like, do you mind if I just share yours? It was like one of those random things, because it's like you didn't know, but at that point I didn't really care, it was, and it, whatever. Right. But, we made it work. You had that great, and like you said, it was a global thing.
I mean, it's on the internet.
Yeah.
And we had, acts from outside the country. It was really cool.
I forgot who was there. I forgot the artist, but I think even while he was there, he got a call that someone saw and got signed that night. I forget exactly who it was. I apologize. But I remember him being so ecstatic, even then, what's going on. But do you know if Joshua, who is the co-founder, his nickname is G-Note as a DJ, is he going to be performing?
I'm sure we'll get him on the decks. Hear that? We're going to get you on the decks.
You got to push him a little bit more.
Absolutely,
I know he loves doing it, but
he's a little shy. He's great though. Likes that drum and bass.
Also, too, if you would like to call in, the number is 640-3091 if you have any questions for Don, anything in regards to how to volunteer, or if you want to know something about the music scene.
Please, no song requests.
Yeah, no song requests today. But, yeah, definitely call in. So, what else is, so you have 2 kids, well,
One on the way.
one on the way.
One on the way, which I guess wasn't really public, but nobody knows me anyway. Don't show my wife.
So that must be exciting. No?
It's definitely exciting, and it's just, it's another just, it feels very normal,
Right.
but it's also just, that adds to the anxiety, when you're trying to do something and grow something from nothing. It's a lot of risk, because
Right.
some people really do, and part of me sometimes, maybe I should just go get some job at Amazon or something,
Right.
and just be safe and steady, but I just can't live like that. I have a hard
Right.
time doing that.
Plus, it's hard to do that when you know you have a passion for something else. It's almost worth the risk.
Yeah, I'm unemployable effectively. I'm hard.
Like, I found work for myself, working in healthcare. But for that, I could find hours that I could work around and yet still do what I love to do,
Critical.
And it's, yeah. And, sometimes it could still get stressful because you're like, I'm working here. I got to try to
Oh, yeah.
fit in auditions and stuff like that there. But like you said,
I mean, that's Josh. He works union job in Boston. He's up at 4 a.m. Sometimes he'll be the last person I talk to at night. I'm literally still up, and he talked to me before he went to sleep, and then he hits me up when he gets up,
Right.
and I'm still like, all right, we're still on this and still on this. But yeah, and I mean, I don't think I would be able right now. I'm like 12 hours out, so we're kind of just living off a little bit of the rest of our savings now and trying to limp through the finish line here.
Now, when you guys started to think of doing the 3rd festival, what made you finally decide, like, okay, we're going to do it this year?
Well, it's a lot that goes into it. We needed to kind of make sure our team was in place. The pandemic wasn't going to come back all of a sudden. It seemed like kind of towards the beginning of the summer when they were like, all right, mask mandates are done. The capacity mandates are done. Like, I think in May, everything ended in New Hampshire. That's kind of when it started to signal, like, okay, we can do this.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because, like I said, when you were talking about it, it's trying to build up, like, okay, what would be the perfect date for this? Should
That
we
was
do it
really
this year?
tough.
Should we wait till next
That
year?
was tough. It's kind of hard because you don't want to lose the momentum.
Right.
You know what I mean? And a lot of other events are starting up, and we're at a level and a caliber that we gotta just keep pushing.
Right.
They say if your dreams don't scare you, they're not big enough.
Right. Exactly.
So we're always kind of pushing ourselves a little outside our comfort level. Like, even now at Jewel, the artists we're booking are bigger than we've ever booked before at a club show. And for this festival this year, we have it's our biggest headliner last year was effectively like a direct support this year.
Right.
It's crazy, and it's just crazy to see like what's been built and like the people involved, and it's scary and stressful, but it's exciting.
Now, as a promoter, can you give us some like background of like what you do, like how you get the big acts that you get?
All been relationships, really. That's the thing I try to tell people in the industry. I'm like, so much of this is just relationships, and providing value. At first too, like I could, reach out to a really big act that wants, $50,000, $100,000. They're not going to even give me the time of day. Mm-hmm. But over the years, we've built up. We started with this act, and this roster on this agency. We worked with this agent, and we did well by the artist. So they go back and they say it was a great play. They were happy with the turnout. They were happy with the promotion, the production, and how we treated them. It's a hospitality business in a lot of ways once the artist shows up, And some artists are the coolest, people ever, and some are, they've been touring, for a while, and they expect a certain way of being treated, and that's been an interesting learning curve. But yeah, over the years, you just do well. And after COVID, it was really interesting seeing so many agencies kind of like shatter, and then all these like kind of new agencies forming out of the pieces. Mm-hmm. So people that we've like worked with for a while over here and now over here, and they have a different roster and a bigger roster. And it was, what was nice is being from New Hampshire, we were one of the first states to really reopen in a big way. So we were able to kind of be at the beginning of everyone booking out their tours and everything like that. So our lineup for the whole year has been really crazy.
Right,
really a
'cause you
big
got the
national
jump-
lineup.
you got
We
the
got the
jumps.
jump, and that was good because it kind of started rebuilding a lot of those relationships, like right when things were reopening. And now we did good by them, we did good by their artists, and we did, the last, you're only as good as like your last show or like your last festival in a way. So since last festival went so well, and we had the artists that we did, which we were lucky to get then, we were able to push it up a notch,
Right.
this year. And, it's kind of like a lot of the bigger acts are like, all right, well, who else do you have booked? And it's this little dance about, trying to figure out where they're going on the flyer and who's, supporting who and who's else on the lineup. And it kind of all is like kind of very, and then it just kind of comes together in a couple days, which is what's happening now. We're just at the finishing touches now of like a really, really exciting lineup.
Right. And when you come to pick out the headliner, is it based on the amount of followers they have or people that...
Well, you want someone that can sell, but you also want, there are artists that will sell tickets, but not necessarily to the people that we've been working with, our community. Plus the sound, something I apply in promotions is the same thing I apply in DJing. It's like there's a Venn diagram, right? There's music that I like, and there's music that everyone else will like. And whatever kind of is in that middle, that's what I try to look into. Although I do love to introduce people to new music. So it's like this game, like here's what's going to get people there, and here's what's going to surprise them.
Right.
And then that is just what makes a great experience. And then you want to curate, when we do our sunrise sets, it's the right vibe. We have multiple stages, and you want to be able to give someone a little bit of everything and at the right time. And, it's not just about the music so much as the entire experience, from when you show up to when you leave.
Right. And like you said, getting some people their starts and things like that.
Oh, yeah.
Like, on like the smaller stages, I guess.
And some agents, they have artists, a lot of agents have artists kind of across big artists that are guaranteed sellers, and then artists that are kind of coming up. And it's really cool when you reach out to them and you're like, hey, I'd like to take this artist and put him here. And we all know it's kind of a big opportunity for them, and they're excited.
Right.
And that's really cool. Or they compliment us on our curation and our run. It's cool. It's cool kind of making, when everybody's excited, it's not just like another booking or another this. When the artist, it's going to help everybody's career. That's the sweet spot.
Right. And do you feel now that things are open back up and things like that, that you're going to try to maybe do this festival every year?
Oh, yeah.
Or,
yeah. We're planning on something, hopefully, 2 events, maybe 2 or 3 events a year. But this is the big flagship event. And it's the merchant, the art that's been done this year, the merchandise that's been done this year, just the team behind it is just so cool.
Do you need more vendors or?
Oh yeah, I mean we're taking vendor applications right now for food and craft vendors. We can accommodate quite a few. We had a lot of vendors in 2019. The only thing is like time's ticking. I think we're 50 days away.
Right.
Every day, no days off right now. But yeah,
Right.
We encourage anybody that wants to apply to volunteer, to vend, to be a flow artist, for the art gallery even. We have a really cool art gallery. We do murals. We're having different workshops, like a cool fire walk and, a whole bunch of different stuff.
Yeah, that is really cool.
Oh, yeah.
And
Yoga. Can't forget about the yoga.
You're going to do that, right?
Always.
Just right.
And kick off the day.
And I'm guessing rain or shine.
Rain or shine, but it will be sunshine. Beautiful weather every time.
Right. And September is such
It's a great time of year.
Perfect for up in Maine.
Perfect. It's like beautiful, like crisp during the day.
Exactly.
A little like onesie weather at night, but it's not too cold. It's New England, quintessential New England weather.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely perfect. I've been up there for a show a couple of years ago. It was October. October was towards the end of October, so it was a little too cold.
Right. Yeah.
And I didn't have warm enough clothes on. It was just a hoodie and this. I'm like, oh my God, I'm freezing.
I always end up like my last beach day of the year. For some reason, it seems to be like the last couple weeks in September. For some reason, it just gets to 80 degrees out.
Yeah, and plus the water's warmer anyway.
Yep.
Even if like it's a little cooler, like a little brisk outside.
A lot less precipitation in this September. Farmer's Almanac says it's going to be way drier this September, so which is good because we've been coming off a really wet summer.
Well, speaking of that, the rain last night, I literally just got home and then I heard all the lightning.
I love it. I opened my
saw
door
the
up a
lightning,
little
heard
bit
the
and
thunder.
just let it. Oh yeah.
Oh man, it came down.
Yeah, I do miss that. Like I lived in Florida for a while. I went to school down there, and I do miss kind of like the daily 4 p.m. thunderstorms that would kind of come out and then they'd be done.
I love watching it though.
Oh, yeah.
But it was, like you said, it's definitely been raining a lot this summer.
Yeah. Which is kind of fortunate that it's weird because certain venues they can have, like, if it's a really, really, really wet year, the property is not going to be as perfect as you'd want it for like a giant festival. Like the property we're at right now is typically it's fairly dry. It's kind of at decent elevation, so we won't have a problem. And I was just out there last week and it was looking great. But I know that like a location we were previously looking at, I know that if it rains all year, it can get sloppy.
Yeah, and that's something I wouldn't even thinking of, you know.
And that's a whole other thing. I mean, that's
yeah, like especially with all the cars pulling in, the camping gear, people dancing
you
around,
don't rip up
and
people's like property,
right,
you know.
Right. Any other stuff you would like to bring up that you thought?
Wow,
I know this.
Thinking about anything else but this is kind of a luxury right now.
So let's see here. So you got the Jewel on Fridays. You got the you're DJing on Thursdays. Is there any other things you're considering on doing for the other days of the week?
Well, I'm kind of working with Jewel right now. They're a really great venue, and they're trying to build up, you know, just now that they're rebuilding like their whole stage production, their sound production. Now, you know, I've been helping them book out some other nights, you know, so getting some other jam bands in there, you know, some live hip hop acts have been really cool. You know, and just trying to spread. There's not really many venues that do what they're doing.
Right.
So I definitely encourage anyone that like, you know, wants to bring some music in, other promoters, you know, that's the spot right now.
Right. And for like the days that you're not doing this stuff, so all of that's just going out, calling up the bands, making sure you're securing all the like the festival stuff coming.
Oh yeah.
All the paperwork and what they want, and I'm guessing a lot of contracts because everything's contract.
Yeah,
right?
It's all contracts, and a lot of what my job now has shifted to, which is really weird, has been from doing all that to actually just managing a team that can do it all, which has been my learning curve.
Right. And how big is your team, would you say, right now?
Right now, not counting volunteers, like 40 people.
Wow.
Oh yeah,
it's
a big team for sure. We're about to release like the entire staff lineup, and yeah, it's about 40 people, I think.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't even realize how big
Oh
it
yeah,
was.
me neither. When we were going through it, I was like, wow, takes many hands for sure. You know, there's everything from people who are gonna handle the hospitality to, you know, handle filling up the generators, to running the generators, to the merch, you know, to the store, to parking,
right,
to managing those people.
And like I said, because some of those people, you know, don't have any experience, and you're willing to
and a lot of them do. Now that we're in our third year, people have worked with us, you know, so we look to promote from within, from, you know, and what's nice about having the monthly or the weekly shows is the people who do our store can help us there, like hospitality, and it's just kind of this like gentle grind all year.
Right.
This is definitely a full like around the clock job for a lot of the people.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess for them, because I'm sure you want them to stay with your company, but if they grow and move on
That's
to
great.
other...
I mean, they're independent contractors at the end of the day, and we want people to grow. I mean, we're hoping that they grow with us. You know, as we grow and get bigger and bigger, like the opportunities are still there. And yeah, like if they go, like I said, like we've had a couple people work with us that are now, they're off doing their own careers, and that's awesome.
Right. And do you plan on staying in New Hampshire yourself as a company, or would you be willing to expand out, do shows in California?
I mean, the thing is, when you build your network, you know, we're a regional network. Like we know the people in New England really well. When you kind of like, you know, we wouldn't go to like LA and try to throw a bunch of shows there because it's just someone else's turf, you know. And like I know what's great is when promoters want to do something like in our region, they a lot of time touch base with us, and then we'll do a collaboration show or something, because at the end of the day you just want to bring more people in, you know what I mean. Many rising tide lifts all boats in a lot of ways. The more good shows that are going on that aren't competing with each other, the more people are going to bring their friends out, the more people are going to bring those friends out, and the more people in general that go out.
Right.
So
do you feel like a lot of people travel, besides the artists, of course, but people travel from other states to come to the shows? Or?
For sure. On Fridays, definitely like New England. We'll get people from Connecticut to Maine to, you know, Vermont. Some people from New York sometimes. For Equinox, we'll definitely have people flying out for it.
Yeah.
It was really cool. I was in Denver in 2019. Me and my wife basically go to Denver usually like a week or two after the festival. It's kind of our time to go and just kind of relax and, you know, veg out. And we went to this really cool venue called Black Box, which is actually run by one of the agencies, Submission Agency. And it was really cool. And I went, you know, Colorado's got some really cool like lax laws and things like that, and it's just like a cool culture there. And we were talking. My wife was just talking to the girl at the booth, and she's like, "Oh, we're from New Hampshire. Like, we just got done at Equinox Festival, whatever." And the girl knew exactly her friends had all just gone to the festival, and she had just wished she had gone. But like, it was just really interesting, like being in the other side of the country and people knowing what you do.
Right. And what do you do to promote it, like online? Like, so has Facebook just been?
Unfortunately, Facebook is a really good tool for this.
Yeah. And are you also like doing like Instagram and Twitter or?
Not Twitter. Twitter is never.
I never
I've
got
never
big
seen a
on
point
Twitter,
for Twitter,
either.
aside from maybe like getting myself in trouble. Like
Yeah.
I really don't see a point in Twitter, although I guess some people are on Twitter, but it seems like Twitter seems to be more of like an establishment kind of, like it's like
If
here's
you're
like where I'm
already a
following
name,
the
like
journalists, or it's the blue check marks kind of thing.
Right.
And for people that are just like looking for a show, I really have never heard of anybody being like, "Oh, I didn't hear about you. I'm only on Twitter."
Right.
You know, so Instagram's great, Facebook's great. We do a lot of paid promotion, a lot of. I mean, we used to do a lot of flyering and a lot of posters, but now things are, we have a big team, so word of mouth is really big. And after a little while, you're kind of a known commodity. You're on the apps. There's a bunch of apps that are kind of, you can check out what shows are going on in your area, and we're out there now.
Right.
It's weird hitting that kind of like phase.
You said something interesting when you were saying like, people have a turf. So it's something because,
Yeah.
I don't know, but.
I mean, it's not like gang stuff,
No,
what I mean?
no.
But you know what
yeah,
I'm saying.
so, like, say if
people,
you did-
it is disrespect. It's about respect in general. Like, you don't want to step on people's toes, especially if you're like a new promoter. Like, people work really hard to build like a community. And when someone steps in, like, it's not illegal. It's not
Right.
necessarily even wrong. Competition is good. I will say, like, the more competition, we've had, and it fuels you. You kind of want that.
Right.
You want people kind of trying to take you down a little bit in a way, because it keeps you on your toes, and it keeps you, making sure that you're, not resting on your laurels. You're really just constantly trying to push the envelope. And when you look at what you're doing and everyone's like, "Oh my God, this is so great," you're looking at it and being like, "This is not that, this is not as good as we can be doing."
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's always an amateur. That's what I always look at myself. No matter what, we're always amateurs, and we're always striving to do better.
Right, and just stepping outside the box, because you might even come up with a different way of doing things. You never know what.
And when that's what's great about other, promoters doing things, you'll teach each other things. I definitely know when we do things, I see other promoters kind of like doing that then.
Right.
Using this tool or using that, which is cool. And you just, you just have to keep moving. But I've also learned things from other promoters.
Right.
So I don't discourage anyone from doing anything. But if someone was to come into like Manchester, which we've pretty much been the guys doing these shows here for the only ones, effectively, for many years, I'd expect them to not do it on the same day.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and that would just be stupid for them anyway. Why would you do that and split your crowd? You know what I mean? It's almost
Right.
like either you're so ignorant to your local market that you probably shouldn't be promoting anyway, or you're just being a jerk.
Right.
Either of which is not a good way to make friends.
Right. Is there anybody you're thinking of collaborating with in the future? Like, is there anybody coming up that you're like, what, they have a good show?
I mean, we have great. Third Eye Collective, shout out in Vermont. They're awesome crew of people. They're actually hopping on and doing a lot of our site deco, which is gonna be really cool. And they do shows in different areas and like right over the border. And they pretty much we always work around each other. Now we're like established now. We do Fridays. So that's nice for a lot of people to know. So they usually do Saturday shows or Thursday shows or something like that. But our promoters are their promoters in a lot of ways. Like, people, there's no like, don't work with these people, don't work with these people.
Right.
That's no good.
Right.
No.
And then, like you said, you could bring in their people too,
Always. We bring in their artists. A lot of these people have artists. And a lot of these other crews, they're not necessarily even striving to do the level of shows that we're doing. You have to kind of have things on different tiers, or else there'll be no industry at all. To get to the level of playing, a headliner at a festival, you need to play House of Blues shows. To get to those shows, you need to do Jewel shows. And to get to those, you need to do the bars, and you need to play for 5 years and nobody shows up or cares who you are. And it's just that constant, you need to drive with intention, but you got to keep going with. So these like local crews that are doing more local shows, those are really important, because those are your openers.
Right.
Those are the people that maybe they're not going to drive out for an hour and a half just to go to a show every week, but they'll drive a few minutes to their downtown and hang out with their friends and have their little crew so that when there's something bigger going on, we all work together to make the bigger thing happen.
Right.
And that's kind of what like Equinox really started as. It just started as people kind of coming together to do some cool stuff that started out as a one-day little backyard barbecue. It was kind of an industry appreciation. That's really what the entire like idea was. But then everyone just kind of came on board and like, well, I guess we're set up already the earlier day, so let's maybe see if we can book like an act for that. And then like I book a really kind of bigger act that we were surprised that confirmed. So it was like, oh, well, all these people want to play, all these people want to get involved, so I guess we'll just kind of, I guess we need some more porta potties now. Okay, now I guess we need this, and it just kind of built and just took off. Like it was very organic.
Yeah.
And we didn't plan on the level and the budget and the it's kind of, it's scary when I look sometimes at our budget spreadsheet. I'm like, what do we do? This is crazy.
It's like it just kind of aligned itself.
Yeah, and that's kind of best. That's the best. That's the best when it all works together and everyone's working together for a common purpose. It's not just like, you'll have some like corporations that have come in sometimes in New England and they'll just host a really big budget show. Right. But like, there are some festivals that have come here and they've done that and they've burned people and then just left.
Right.
And there's no recourse. There's nobody to be like, oh, we're not going to, go to their shows anymore. They just come in with money, have a brand. It's a faceless company, but they build a big brand with giant, 6-figure headliners that are going to sell tickets.
Right.
And they do what they do, and that's not helpful.
Right. And do you are you starting to get a lot of like sponsors now, or not at that level
Never really
yet?
done sponsors. I guess I should, but we're never going to sell alcohol for one, so I don't want anything to do with that. If you're 21 plus, you can bring your own alcohol, but we've never had a problem really because I think that's usually where most of the problems come from in a lot of areas. But as far as like, no, something, if someone wants to be our sponsor leader, let me know, sponsor coordinator, because that's something I've never like delved into. We tried to do that in 2019 and almost got in with this energy drink, but then they like were trying to like scam this other energy drink and this whole thing, and it was really weird. It just kind of turned us off because like we were like, all right, we don't have time for this.
Yeah, because I mean sponsors do help because at least they cover a lot of the funding,
expenses, right? For local sponsors, we probably should look into that because that would be helpful.
But like you said, I mean,
few thousand
there's
here.
like that part. It kind of reminds me of Wayne's World, where like they had a way of doing something. They're like, wait a minute, they're turning it all around into something different because once the sponsors come in, it's almost like they give a little bit of their
they're a little
point
input,
of
like,
view.
hey, could you like maybe try this or make sure you don't do that?
Yeah.
And, I mean, I'm maybe okay with that to a point of taking advice, but we're not going to be told what to do.
Right.
No.
As I drink Snapple.
Brought to you by
Snapple. It says red as my hair. No, yeah, like you said, with like people starting out, like you said, just DJing, just getting out there. Some people don't even realize how much, especially here downtown, what's available to them, especially with the music.
Yeah.
I mean, this is up and growing.
I've met people that literally live in the city, and I like met them I met this one kid a couple weeks ago. He's like, "What? I didn't know any of this was happening," and I was like, "How?" But he like makes music, and it was like he's like sitting here making music for 5 years and just doing it, and he has a decent he has people online that know his music, which is really interesting. Like it's good stuff, and I'm just like, how have you? And that's I guess my failure as a promoter. Like I guess but it's weird how some people are so passionate about making music, but they don't they don't make a plan to like get it out to people.
Right.
And that's what we hope to provide in a lot of ways.
Right. And people can't get discouraged either because, sometimes you're going to, like you said, you're going to have those days where no one shows
You've
up.
got to power through those bad nights. It makes you want to quit, man.
And, because you can even tell like a whole bunch of people and be like, I'll be playing or I'll be doing this and no one shows up, and then it's like,
when you're losing money on that, like personal, like your rent, you're like, oh man, this is, how did I get myself in that's kind of part of the motivation that somewhat is you're motivated to not fail like that again.
Right.
And
you're like, what could I do different?
Sometimes it's a snowstorm.
Right.
Literally, sometimes you can't do anything, and it's just like...
Yeah, you just happen to just get scheduled on a day that the weather is just bad.
I've booked acts that I thought were going to book out well, and nobody showed up, and it was painful.
Right, because as you book these acts, like you said, unless they're openers or things like that, you're doing it based on their sales with the people that you know will
Mix
like the
acts
music.
that I know that I'm gonna like, people
Yeah,
around here are gonna
like.
like, and they have some pull to justify the money they're gonna ask. I mean, they're asking for a certain amount of money. It's pretty much like they can justify that based on ticket sales.
Right.
But then we like to go overboard with a really crazy sound system and production and this and that, and it adds up.
Right.
Definitely adds up. That's why most crews and most promoters, they kind of cut corners in a lot of ways when it comes to like production and things like that. And I get it, because they need to make money.
And that's what some people don't know. You as a promoter, you know, everybody else would be getting paid, but if that money doesn't come in, you're the one taking the loss.
We get all the grief, you know, all the pain, but we also, it trickles up.
Right.
Barely.
Right.
So if no one makes money, it's like they still get paid.
Right. And then you're the one left with the stress of, all right, how are we going to pull this together?
But we got, you know, it's, thank God, you know, knock on wood, for the last few years, we've been on that gentle incline. And this year has been the biggest. I mean, coming out of COVID we've been doing bigger things than we've ever done.
Right. And because you kept it going, which was the biggest.
Yeah, and we just kind of kept our names up, and the live streams are great for just connecting with so many new agencies and artists and things like that, and just kind of spreading us from just regional to that. And like I said, since New Hampshire opened, one of the first to open, we had some of the first opportunities to get on a lot of these big tours. Mm-hmm. So, you know, some of these acts, like, we got pretty good deals on, and they, you know, who maybe they wouldn't have put us up before, now they're like, all right, well, they can book that. They're just trying to book anything at that point.
Right.
And then, you know, it's the same agency, same, you know, teams, and now they're just booking us on their roster. And now that we know every Friday's a good night. It's a good sound system, a great sound system, great production, and we're in a really great area. Manchester's awesome because we're right off the highway in so many places. It's really easy to get to Jewel. It's like right off the highway. You're there.
And great parking.
Free parking. Who beats it? Yeah. Come on. And people could go to, you know, that's the thing, like, oh, I can go to Boston for, you know, a $15 or a $25 ticket, but you're spending $20 on parking, you know, $15 a drink, you know what I'm saying? You're spending more money, and it's just a hassle.
Right. And you still have that, like, you can come even earlier in the day, have some dinner. You got all that downtown down here. Like I said, it's just great walking distance to everything, you know? I mean, we have a great city.
I think so. I love it here. I think it's a great balance. I can, you know, go downtown, or I can get on my mountain bike and go out in the woods. That's what I need. I could never really live in the big city, right? I'm over it.
Yeah. I hear that. You know, like you said, just with the parking alone, the expenses.
The parking. I mean, come on.
Yeah. And so now with all this coming up, I guess you just got a lot on your plate, pretty much.
Yeah. I'm literally wake up and try to feed the baby and work on the computer, and my wife is literally a goddess, because I cannot believe that she can handle me and everything that she has to handle. Like, that's the MVP. You know, they do say behind every, I guess it's like, it is behind a successful person, it is their partner rolling their eyes like the entire time. It really is, because that's her just picking up the pieces.
Right.
You know?
And I wanted to say too, when you were mentioning before about the streaming, and that you were helping other people with that, do you get paid? Is there a way that you're able to get paid for that, or is it mostly donation?
It was all donation. I mean, so we were using Twitch. At first was great because people could subscribe, and at first we were doing regular broadcasting, so people would pay, you know, a few dollars to subscribe, and we'd get that, you know, monthly. But that only lasted a couple months. At first, it was really just donations, and we did, you know, our first, you know, giant live stream, we raised like 5 figures. Which was great, because people were like suddenly out of work. We're like, here's some money for you. Here's some money for you. Here's some money for you. It was really awesome. But that very quickly just went into nothing. You know, by our next live stream, though, this time we were doing the 72-hour one, we barely broke a few hundred over 72 hours. But that's because everybody started streaming. And it turned into this really interesting situation. So when we first started, it was like so exciting. People were like, okay, this is a novelty. You know, a couple weeks to flatten the curve or whatever. It was like a novelty. It was kind of like, oh, it's like an extended snow day.
Right.
And then it just kept going. And the artists did like another live stream and another live stream and another live stream. And, you know, when you're touring, you're going to city, but when you're online, like, there's only so many sets you can do before it starts to become just the same stuff. So a lot of artists
almost
are realizing
monotonous
very quickly, they're like, oh, this is going to hurt my brand. I can't do this anymore. So the big artists kind of just, then it became like impossible to book any acts, really. It was really tricky to like book any big things because we were like, oh, we can do it by donations. And then it was kind of like, well, now nobody's getting donations. So then there was no sponsors really then. You know, sponsors would have become good there. And Twitch was hopefully like the idea that we were able to use that and do regular programming. We actually had, there was a couple weeks there where we had a couple days of programming. We actually had like a day on this and a show on this day and a show on this day. But then Twitch decided that they were going to start pulling copyrights on anything and everything. So when you're doing a music, I mean, we'd have producers who make their music getting shut off for playing their own music. And it was just completely obnoxious to deal with. And it was just, it just started getting stricter and stricter and stricter. And Twitch became like the biggest thing, and then they just
fizzled
done.
out. Yeah, so because I was thinking that, but that makes sense because most of the acts, they make their money by the touring, right? That's the biggest income
You're really
for
not
your
making
artists.
money from anything else.
I mean, you got your merch and stuff.
Yeah,
but
touring. Effectively, merch is great. Yeah, merch is good, but even still, the amount of money they make on the merch, and especially if they're doing it on tours, like, you know, we get a cut for selling it for them. Then there's the cost of the merch, and then they like pay the person, and it's like they're not really making much. It's more about brand awareness, even with the merch, unless you're really big.
Right. And then I don't know with like selling music, because nowadays we don't have CDs and things like that anymore.
Streaming.
Just the
And
streaming.
I mean, it's kind of like a joke. Like some people, I've seen artists be like, hey, I can pay my rent now, maybe in like 10 years. Like, because they'll post like, you know, they've made it, they've done like, you know, this many thousands and thousands of streams, and it's like, you know, a few dollars, like $2.
Right.
It's really bad. So touring, go out, support your, if you like music, because I'm really worried. A lot of these people, you know, this is like the real serious thing during the COVID months. People were ready to let venues die.
Right.
And they said, screw them, it's not safe, and they'll open up again. And that was just the most ignorant thing. One of the most ignorant things I heard last year. And now that there are a lot less venues, you know, we used to work at Wonder Bar in Massachusetts, in Boston, and that was an amazingly iconic venue for years. A lot of these artists that are huge now played there, you know, 10 years ago for nobody.
Right.
And they're done now. And what people don't understand is to get to that festival rank, you need to go through the ranks. You need to build yourself up. And these small venues are so, so important. So people like love to go to the big festivals. They love to listen to music and go to these things. Go support your local scenes. You have to, because those are the people that are going to get it big. And when a national act comes to your city, pay the $35. Go see it on a big sound system. Support the tech people who are doing the lights and the sound and the ones moving all the speakers.
Right.
It's important. People gotta understand economics, you know?
Right.
It's important.
Keep it moving.
Keep it moving.
Keep it moving. Support the local artists and the artists coming in and the music that you love, and of course the promoters that are working so hard to bring that music to you. Again, Don Sullivan, thank you so much for stopping by and speaking with me and teaching me some things. Again, he's the co-founder of Electric Impulse, and also you can find him at the Equinox Music Festival and Music and Arts Festival in
Harmony, Maine.
Harmony,
September
Maine.
9th through the 11th. Let's go.
Go online and order your tickets. I'll be there.
EquinoxFest.com. My little plug.
Thank you so much, and I hope to see you guys again next week.